What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cartoon Season. I am Tyler, and this is, of course, where we get to have fun talking about some cartoons, some anime, shows, movies, whatever it may be. Today is a good time because we're talking about Demon Slayer. I got a little bonus episode for you. I forgot to, my last bonus episode, which was the first bonus episode about Arcane, I forgot to mention it at the top. But I remembered for this one. This is a bonus episode, probably going out behind the curtain. I'm recording this on the Saturday, so this episode probably could go up in a few days. Because Demon Slayer, as I'm recording this right now, goes first episode. The first real episode of season 2 drops tomorrow, I think. I think it drops on Sunday. So when you're listening to this, first episode of Demon Slayer already be out. Show I'm very excited to watch. So of course, I wanted to talk about the first season of Demon Slayer, and we're gonna have a lot of fun because this one, this is really the first shonen that focuses a lot on action, like fight scenes, that kind of show. Something that the base I always go back to, like Naruto, and the way I'm pretty much gonna do shows like these is I'm gonna go through the fight scenes. I think that's kind of the best way for me to talk about shows like this. Some preview of some upcoming shows that are going to be similar to this that I'll cover is things like Jujutsu Kaisen. That's another one that probably mainly just go over the fights with that show. But yeah, we're going to talk about a bunch of them. I don't think I touch on every single one, but I touch on, I think, the main ones. And there's some pretty cool ones here, especially since that's the big thing. I would say that's the main thing that people talk about the show is Ufotable's animation is incredible. But of course, before we get into it, just a reminder, go to the YouTube Tiger T channel. That's where you'll find other episodes of this. If you want to see the little images I throw up. If you don't care, then you can just go anywhere else you listen to podcasts and get the purely audio version. We can have fun there. Oh, and something I'm going to start doing, I'll probably put these in retroactively on every other previous episode as well, but I've been very bad at throwing in links. So I'm going to throw in, I guess I'll throw in the YouTube link, as well as the kind of like website link I have that displays all of the podcast places you can get it. There's like 15 different places you can listen to this. So yeah. So we're getting into it. Like I said, Demon Slayer Season 1. One last quick thing. I'm not covering the movie because I don't consider that Season 1. I usually also don't group together movies and shows into one cartoon season episode. So later on down the road, I'll cover the movie as well as obviously Season 2. Yeah, look forward to that. But yeah, first real fight we get to, we get some like more story-based fights in the beginning, like when Tanjiro, Nezuko, and that whole thing. But the first real one I felt I wanted to touch on was the mutated demon. I don't remember if he has a name. I just know he's referred to as the mutated demon because of all his arms. And I want to talk about this one because I feel like, again, that's the first real one. He's in the like trials or whatever. I forget what it's called. The exam. he's in the tuning exams, and this is the first real obstacle he has to fight, right? Where he really gets to see someone's like real power, and this dude isn't really anything special, honestly. He's not even close to one of the 12 Kizukai, I think that's what they're called. I could be completely wrong, but he's not one of the 12. But he still has trouble, right? Like in the beginning, Tanjiro absolutely gets rocked. He gets punched through like a tree or something, and this is where he gets his first, I would say, wake-up call after, training with the man. I think his name was Urodekai, something like that. Sounds like Mordecai from Regular Show. I don't know if I said that right, but he completely gets rocked, right? And he realizes, okay, like I have to use my head, which is, as the series goes on, you see that Tanjiro is really good at thinking things through. Other characters we see not so much. We'll touch on those guys later. But he just says to himself, I have to calm my breathing. This is the big thing I learned, was that my breathing is kind of the source of everything. So I have to calm down, assess the situation, and he does. He does some good stuff. He cuts off, some of this man's arms, and that's when we have a slight little fist pump moment where it's like, hey, it's Tanjiro's actually getting it. I think the main thing here is that not only is he strong, but he's also killed a lot of the other disciples, the other Fox disciples, and so I think that's another obstacle that Tanjiro has to face in this fight, because that's something that he's gonna have to go with, or like learn to work with going forward, is also the like mental game with fighting demons, especially with him too, because him with Nezuko and him trying to look at the good side of demons. But anyway, this fight doesn't last super long. That's also a quick side note about the show, is that I didn't realize how fast a lot of these fights are. Like I said at the top, the kind of formula that I look at for all these types of shows, I always boiled back down to Naruto. Even though Naruto might not be the first, we can boil it down to Dragon Ball, I guess. Or maybe even something before that, I don't know. But Naruto would drag stuff out, Naruto, like a fight like this in Naruto would have lasted probably 3 episodes, maybe more. But this one lasts like half an episode. Tanjiro's able to calm down. This is another really good introductory to the what's the word? To the like tactic, I guess, of him always being able to see the threads. We see that he cuts off this man's head, which is a big thing because, well, he beat him, but also no other Fox disciple was able to do that. They were able to cut through, right? It always like bounced off or clanged off his neck or his arms or whatever. He's able to cut his head off, and I think that was a really good first, like, this isn't just a demon, it's something a little bigger, a little better, and we're able to get past that. So, and also this man just gross to look at, he's not anything crazy. But again, this fight is one of the weaker ones, which makes sense since it's in the very beginning. It only covers episode 4 of the show. But also, it's a nice starting point, because then we move on to the swamp demon, or demons. I'm still not quite sure if they're multiple people, multiple personalities. We got some shadow clone jutsu or something going on, I'm not sure. But we got the swamp demon, and we roll up on him. Another good thing I didn't really mention in the last fight, but one of the big quirks for Tanjiro is that he has a really good nose, right? And with this fight, it helps him because these dudes go into the floor, they go into like the wall and stuff, and Tanjiro is able to smell through the ground. He's able to smell their scent, and that gives him an edge in knowing where they're going to be from, where they're going to pop up out of. And then, like I said, they quickly turn into 3 things, which sucks. That's not fair. But you should fight me like a demon, one-on-one. But he decides to drop into 3, and Tanjiro has to fight back. We start seeing more and more different forms that he has, the like water breathing and stuff. He has a second form, the water wheel, which is really cool. He's able to do stuff like in mid-air with that move, as well as like a wheel. He can a lot more mobility. That's really cool. We have a hard stop in this because there's one thing I didn't really like. They were only going after 16-year-old girls, and as the fight went on, the more they explained why, it just got creepier and creepier. Wasn't a big fan of that. But then you have another character pop out that we didn't see in the first fight. We have Nezuko. Nezuko comes in the clutch with a huge kick, fights or kicks back one of the forms that was going to attack Tanjiro from the back, which is really cool. And I think that is a nice precedent to set for the whole show, because I think one of the most important parts of the show, the real anchor for why we're following Tanjiro specifically, is because he's in an interesting spot where his sister's a demon, but his sister didn't go crazy, right? His sister didn't become full demon. Like, she still loves him, she still listens to him, and we're gonna get to it with the next fight, but she also does not hurt humans, which is huge, because that's never really been done before. I mean, I would say probably only more of the bigger, more powerful demons who have more of a brain, and are more kind of sentient and probably act more human than others. They don't attack humans just like savagely, like just all the time, relentless. They're not quite zombies, right? But even then, like Nezuko doesn't, which is huge for the demon and demon slayer relationship. And a little bit later, we have Tanjiro going underground, so he's now in their world, which you imagine is going to be a bad move, right? Like, you don't want to go to their, you want to fight on your own turf, or at least on neutral turf. You don't want to go to theirs. But he's able to flip it around because I don't know if they're like actually in like a water environment, but it simulates a water environment, which plays to Tanjiro's strength, because that's the like elemental form package that Tanjiro picked up is water. So he uses a big move, he uses like this whirlpool move to just destroy the other two demons that are down there. Again, I mean, it's like fighting a water type Pokemon in the ocean. It's like, come on, like, I mean, unless you yourself have a water type, it's not going to be that great. Which is exactly how Tanjiro was able to win, because he was also a water type. And then let's see, Nezuko is just throwing hands at this demon. This is one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part of the entire fight, because she's just throwing hands. Like, it's crazy. It's she's kind of watching him, like just a little bit. But the problem is that she's very inexperienced, and she has power and she's fast, but this demon starts to kind of see her moves, because again, she's clumsy. She has all this power, all this speed, but she doesn't really know what to do with it. So then this demon starts to get the upper hand. Unfortunately for him, Tanjiro was successful in killing his other two people, and he comes out the water portal and just slices this man's arm off, and is able to slice his head off. We do have a little more story here. I don't really touch on the story too much in this episode, but during every demon fight, we always see Tanjiro feel a little bit of sympathy for each demon, because you can tell that these demons were turned against their will. Like, that's just how it works. So it's like, man, like, these used to be people, and now they turned to demons, and unfortunately they're not like Nezuko, where we can kind of, it didn't go all the way. And these guys, they have to, eat people. That's how they get powerful. That's how they survive. But we get to the next fight, and this is, the mutated demon and the swamp demon were cool, but I feel like this is the first one that's really like interesting, because we have okay, give me 1 second. Susanaru, I don't know. And she's the one that has the Tamari balls, and then you have Yahaba with the arrow eyes, right? Arrow eyes on his palms. And this is cool because we see, I mean, the last fight we saw multiple people, but it's really just one demon. This one we have two distinct demons who have their own distinct like move sets. And so we start the fight with Tamari, who throws one of the Tamari, or not Tamari. I wrote that wrong. Susamaru with an M, not an N. I copied that wrong for some reason. Susamaru, who throws the Tamari ball and just decapitates Yushiro. Just completely decapitates him. I don't know at that point if we knew he was a demon. I feel like we probably did. But yeah, it was still a sight. It just completely took his head off. And that also startles Tanjiro, because it's like, oh, these are serious. We have stakes right now. The other two fights, not too bad for him, right? But this one, 5 seconds in, my man over here already lost his head. So he tries to fight back, and he skewers the ball, which at that point, us as viewers were like, got him. You skewer the ball, it's done, or that's how you can slow it down. Maybe not defeat it, but you think at that moment he's, this might not be as bad as we thought it was going to be. But unfortunately for him, the Tamari balls, they have like a mind of their own, seemingly, and they don't move in straight lines. They don't even move in like predictable curves. Like in real life, if you throw a ball, or like certain balls, especially like I think like a baseball, there are ways to throw it that make it curve, right? But these things can just like stop on a dime. They can 90-degree angles, you know what I mean? They can do anything. Even when they're skewered, they still move around, you know? So now we know, okay, this is going to be something serious. You know, this is not like the other ones where we're just going to have to outmaneuver them, you know? And also people who are really good at distance are always tough because they're not going to let you get close, and you're going to have to deal with them at a distance. You're not going to be able to, you know, especially if you're a close range fighter like Tanjiro. I mean, Tanjiro doesn't have any like projectiles really, so he has to get close, but someone like Susumaru is not going to let him get close. And then she grows a lot of arms. Well, wasn't a fan of that, you know, the second fight here that I've talked about where we got multiple arms, not a fan of that. But she got 6 arms, she got 6 Tamari balls, going crazy, you know. It's just a barrage. You know, again, at this point, not only at a distance, but she is now overpowering them. Where just too many things to focus on. You know, Tanjiro has to also focus on the people, or the demons, I guess, that he's trying to protect. And he's not really given time to sit down and think, which is what he does in other fights, where he can kind of like get a break, get a breath, and assess the situation. He's not really able to do that up until this point. And then we move on to the other person we haven't even talked about yet, where we have Yahaba, who has the arrow eyes, right? And we start to connect the dots because Yushiro comes back to life because he's a demon, and he gives Tanjiro the ability to see the arrows. So now we start to understand why these two are a deadly combination, because she's got a lot of arms, a lot of balls, very powerful. You know, she can throw them at a crazy breakneck speed and power. But then you have Yahaba over here who can help kind of navigate them, and he's the one that can make them stop in a dime, make them do 90-degree turns, make them just do spirals, you know, because he has like the power of like force basically, and not like the, I mean, I guess kind of like the Star Wars force, but I was thinking more just like scientific, like physics force, or like gravity versus what's the one that goes against gravity? Isn't it something stupid? It's just like the like standard force or something that goes against, because gravity pulls you down towards the center of the earth, but then the like, I think it's some stupid like regular force or like standard force, I think is the thing that like pushes against gravity to make it so you're not like constantly being like crushed into the center of the earth. But anyway, like he has the power of force basically, where he can just move things with his invisible arrows. And that right there is tough. That's a very tough thing. Like a tiny bit later on, as I was watching, I wrote a note where I was like, his ability is kind of OP. Like his ability alone, way scarier than Susumaru's. Like Susumaru just has these Tamari balls that she can throw and take your head off. But I mean, if you're quick, you can probably dodge them. You can probably do an okay job. His thing hurts you without even touching you, you know. What else do we got? We got Nezuko is able to interrupt Yahaba though, which again, like I said, without him, it causes Susumaru to, you know, she kind of loses a step, right? And in that we see it because Tanjiro is able to cut off some of her arms, you know, in the confusion, in her being like, oh no, my other half is being distracted, you know, I'm not, you know, like for her, like I got so many references this episode to other things. I'm thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's like, you know, with Yu-Gi-Oh you have your monster cards, right, which are the things that you know, those are your front lines, are things that really attack, they got the power, they got it, you know. But then behind that you have things like your magic cards, which boost the monster cards, you know, they either boost them and give them more attack or more ability or whatever, or some of them actually stop the, you know, the opposing monsters, right? You got like Swords of Revealing Light, which I think is like a band card or something. I never really got into like the like serious like tournament, like card game aspect of it. Yeah, like I mean like that card. I think it stops every monster on the field from attacking for like 3 turns, which is kind of wild. I mean, there's like other magic cards, maybe like trap cards. Maybe not trap cards. No, some trap cards can. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, with that, cuts off her arms, and I mean, obviously that's not enough though, right? Because like it's a slight thing, and she's one of those villains in these type of shonen anime that every time something happens, she constantly says, "Okay, now the fun starts. Okay, now the fun starts." Like I think she said it like 4 times in this fight. And it's like, when did the fun really start? And let's see, what else do we got? Then this is where Nezuko really starts to play a part in it, where she is kind of put on the Susumaru duty, right? It's like, okay, you take her out, me, Tanjiro, I'm gonna take out Yahaba, because again, he's the tricky one. And one of the Tamari balls takes off Nezuko's leg. Nezuko attempts to kick it. It's too powerful. Takes off her leg, which sucks. Very sudden, but we're okay with it because we know Nezuko's going to come back. She doesn't heal as quickly as other demons, but we know it's fine. But even with that, we know she's fine. If she can't beat him, I don't know what's about to happen. On the other side of the fight, we have Tanjiro. He kind of figures out what to do. He starts using his water techniques to move with them. It's like water. You flow. You go with the flow. So he goes with the flow of the arrows, and he actually uses the arrows against Yahaba. He uses their momentum, their force, to make his own strikes that much more powerful, and that is how he's able to cut off his head. Again, that is one of the things I really like about Tanjiro versus maybe some other, shonen, battle shonen type MCs, is because he knows how to use his head. He doesn't just bash his head against the wall a million times for something to work. He sits there, he assesses it, he's like, okay, I am not doing well. How do I fight these arrows? Like, no, well, actually, you don't fight the arrows. You use the arrows against him, because Yahaba doesn't know how to fight someone who's using his moves. He doesn't know. He just throws you around a bunch for a few minutes and then you die because he throws your head against a brick wall. You know what I mean? That's his whole thing. But if you're able to use the arrows, he doesn't have anything else. The other side, he's gone, so we go back to Susumaru, and Nezuko heals. It's crazy because she's given that like healing stuff that makes her heal faster, but that's all it does. Like, it had nothing to do. It didn't increase her power tenfold or anything. So we have no idea what's going on. So this is just another little drop in the bucket, kind of to make us viewers think of like how special Nezuko actually is. It's not just, oh, she doesn't eat demons or she doesn't eat humans. Like, no, there are other things about her. Like she might be a new breed of demon, which could be very scary, could be very good. We don't really see the outcome of that. I'm sure we'll maybe get more into that next season, possibly. That's one thing I didn't do. I didn't mention predictions. Although I probably won't do predictions. I mean, I might touch on predictions this time, but I feel like when I cover the Infinity Train movie, that's when I'll really do predictions. Because after Infinity Train, it's all the unknown. Okay, so yeah. Anyway. And yeah, she's like super powerful. She's able to kick the balls back at Susumaru, and she actually gets one by her, which is very impressive at the time. But it's almost like immediately undercut by the one lady. I think her name is Tamayo. Yeah, it's Tamayo. She even says like, okay, that was impressive, but like if Susumaru was playing at her full strength, Nezuko wouldn't have a chance. And again, this is another time where Susumaru was like, now the fun starts. She says it again. Because she's impressed that this other like little girl demon is able to keep up with her. At least at her current effort. But The fight ends not really because of either of the main characters. It ends because Tamayo tricks Susumaru into saying Kibutsuki's name. That's how you say it. Kibutsuki's name, which activates the curse, right? Like all these people who work under that demon, he's pretty much put the same curse on all of them that like he can't really speak about him, and apparently they can't even say his name. So if they do, curse activates and just kills him, right? So again, I think that fight was the first like really interesting one, because we have two characters, two separate movesets, two things to kind of assess and figure out how to beat. You have Tanjiro losing his head, becoming more powerful, learning how to use his moves in tandem with each other, and then you have Nezuko, who really starts to shine herself, and again, we get some glimpses as to what her character could be, as well as we get someone like Tamayo and even Yushiro, who were like, okay, there's other people out there. I mean, they're demons, but there's other ones out there that have these unique abilities, and it also builds the world up, because you imagine we're gonna see Tamayo again at some point, not in this season, but I imagine we probably will. Move on to the next fight, the second to last one, which is like has an asterisk next to it, because the last one I'm going to talk about is really like 7 fights, but we got this one here where we fight Kyogai. He's the dude who can shift rooms, he can spin them, and he also has the crazy like invisible claw slashes. This is a really cool one because he himself isn't super powerful. I mean, even though he apparently previously was one of the 12 Kazugi or something. I don't know how you say it. I feel like I'm saying a different word every time. But I feel like himself isn't super powerful. Like I feel like, can he do stuff in other buildings, or is it just his home here where he can shift stuff, But anyway, I mean, once you're in here, it's bad news. So, I mean, once you get ensnared, I'm sure most people don't come out alive. One of the big things here with this fight is that we get a big introduction to Zenitsu and Inosuke, two of the other main characters that will round out our nice little crew here. Zenitsu is crazy because, well, honestly, I hate Zenitsu character. I don't like it. He's annoying. He just like whines all the time. Not a big fan of it. The only redeeming aspect to his character is that when he falls asleep, he turns into like a god, and he uses thunder breathing to kill a demon in this little palace here. That's the first we ever see him actually do something useful, and it raises a bunch of questions where it's like, how is this possible? Why doesn't he do that when he's awake? Like, his anxiety and stuff really gets to him that much where, like, how did he win? How did he become a demon slayer like that? But anyway, it's a nice little introduction to a character, something that I've never really seen before in anime. Like, someone has to be asleep to be useful. And then, like I said, we got Inosuke, who has like beast breathing, something that he taught himself, I guess, and he uses that to kill a demon, right? Like, he has his own methods. So it's cool, we're seeing 2 other characters. Like I said, I always like building out the world. I always like seeing more characters and seeing what cool abilities that the writer decided to give them. Back to the main fight, though, Tanjiro does start to figure out the pattern. He starts to figure out, which drum equates to what movement, in the world. And again, using his head, I like that. The problem is that he's still very injured from his last fight, and he can't really keep up. He hasn't quite recovered. He doesn't quite have the speed or the endurance that he would like to have, and so Kyogai is still giving him a little bit of work. The way he's able to beat him, though, is that Tanjiro uses the water technique to basically fill up the room. It's basically like to give himself an advantage. It's almost like giving himself like a stat boost almost. and that gives him like traction and mobility in the room that he didn't have previous to doing that. And in one swift motion, he complements Kyoge's blood demon art, and then he kills him. But the fun thing with that ending is that Kyogai loves that. You know, he loves that someone actually complimented him, because, you know, we see some backstory stuff. I'm not really going to get into it, but we see kind of how he fought to get where he is and what happened to him. You know, how he was pretty much thrown out of the little 12, you know, the little 12 fanboy club there. And that's another thing to add to Tanjiro's character, is that, again, like I said, after pretty much every demon he fights and kills, he does feel sorrow for them. You know, he realizes that they were people at one point, and they just kind of went down the wrong path, you know, willingly or unwillingly. You know, still happened to them, and he feels like, you know, all these demons could have avoided it, and maybe he, in another life, he wishes he could have helped them, you know, not become a demon, I guess. But yeah, I mean, at this point, he's burning through these demons. You know, he's able to figure it out. Again, these demons seemingly get more and more powerful, but none of them are quite one of the 12 Kizuki, until we get the last fight, which, again, this is more like 7 fights, because I'm going to cover the entire spider family here. It ranges like 7 episodes, but this is a really nice way to kind of end the season. It's not quite the end of the season. We do end the season with some more training. We see like the Hashira, which is really, really cool. You know, but this is like the last big like action thing for this season. So yeah, so we basically start out with a crazy scene here where Spider Family is using webs to make all the other demon slayers kill each other. They're able to turn them into their puppets, which is scary. That's another like scary thing that they kind of throw into the show. You know, for them to be against their will. And then we got Inosuke being very useful, always having a trick up his sleeve, it seems like. You know, even though we don't see him as like a particularly intelligent character, Inosuke does have this like spatial awareness ability where he's able to find the demon. Again, with like his beast breathing, it's very interesting. I'm excited to see next season how much more we get from Inosuke, to see like where this all like culminates to. And touching on the puppets again, Mother, who we see is the one who's controlling them. Mother has no regard for the puppets' bodies. Again, a very like twisted aspect to this demon art, where it's just like their bones are broken, you know, they're contorting in weird ways, but it doesn't matter because she doesn't see them as humans, or if she does, she doesn't care for humans. She has no regards for that. She just sees them as puppets. She sees them as tools to kill other things and to clear this out. And then what else do we got? We got Tanjiro and Inosuke throw the puppets into trees, right? This is Tanjiro's brilliant plan, where if we throw them into trees, then the threads, you know, they can't be controlled by the threads because the gravity and them getting stuck in the tree limbs and everything. So we're initially rendering these puppets useless, and in turn saving them from being tortured more by Mother. Although doesn't go quite how they want it to, because Mother is like getting frustrated. She's freaking out because she knows of the ramifications of if she loses, and so she's like, who cares? I don't need useless puppets. And so she just snaps all their necks. And a very gruesome scene. Not at all what Tanjiro wanted to happen, or Inosuke, and not what they wanted to happen. They thought they outsmarted her, and she's like, yeah, but I don't care. And this is another really, I didn't mention this, but this is another really good moment, because Tanjiro kind of kneels down towards one of the bodies and just very quiet, and Inosuke kind of walks up behind him, and Tanjiro is just like, we should go. Or something like that. It's along those lines, and he just says it very solemnly, like we should go. You know, kind of give off the vibe of like, we gotta go find her, and we gotta go kill her. And then Inosuke, you know, just says, that's a good idea or sounds like a plan or something like that, right? Again, basically give off the vibe of, I'm not going to make a joke here. I'm not going to, do my weird, like, tsundere stuff in this moment. I'm not going to say that, I was thinking that before you said it or something like that, we're not going to have a, like, funny, lighthearted, or even like a, like, speech, between Tanjiro and Inosuke in this moment. It's just very solemn of, like, we both understand what we need to do. This is not a game. We thought we just won against her, and then it caused many people, more than one handful, people to just instantly die. And so we're serious now. We got to go kill this person. Which I really like, again, because, like, there's a lot of moments in here when they're fighting and it is kind of rambunctious and stuff. But when it gets down to it, they know how to take care of business. They know how to be serious. They know how to, like, they are demon slayers. This is not a game. This is not training. And then we get some more puppets. The not useless puppet, a giant puppet, like this weird abomination thing, but they got no head. So it's like, how do we win? Because up until this point, they have pretty clearly set the rules for this universe where demons or demon slayers need to kill demons by cutting their head off with their special blades, right? So how do we do it? We get into some wacky stuff, but very cool seeing them work together, actually working together and not just being on the same side, because we have Tanjiro who launches Inosuke up into the air, and Inosuke is able to cut off the demon's arms, and then while that's happening, Tanjiro spins like a break dancer, spins and cuts off the demon's legs. So now we've cut off all of his limbs, and then Inosuke's, it's now, wait, oh no, yeah, I missed something. And then as Inosuke's in the air after he cuts off his arms, as he's coming down, that's when he slices diagonal across his chest and cuts the demon in half. So that little team move there was really cool, because like I said, it's one thing for Tanjiro and Inosuke to just be on the same side and just, like, taking out demons, It's another thing for them to actually work together, and them actually have a plan, and them, have, like, a, like, team move, like it's a video game almost, but, like, we're actually, we can do a lot of stuff individually with our own talents, but if we put it together, that's how we can, fight someone like this, who is just very big, and, we have to think outside the box with no head, that kind of thing. So we move on, and Inosuke throws Tanjiro super far, just launches him, and, which is good because then Tanjiro in the air, like, smells her or something, smells Mother, comes down, and beheads Mother. Right, so that's done. Now the threads are done. We're now going at a good clip here. We're starting to see them overcome stuff. We're taking out this family, which is something we need to do. It's definitely looking up for them. It looks like we're gonna get through this with not too much bad stuff. On the other side, can't forget about Zenitsu. He faints from a big spider. A big spider thing scares him, and he just faints. He just his little heart just can't take it. Although for us as viewers, we know something's about to go down, because we know that now that is when he turns into the god that he is. One interesting thing though that the spider points out that we never really got, because we never saw him fight multiple times, is that Zenitsu only really knows one form. He really only knows one move. And we see some nice flashbacks here where we get, like, his trainer. I don't know if that's actually, like, his dad or something. I don't remember, but his dad gives some great advice where he's just like, so what if you only know one move? If you only know how to do one move, perfect it. Perfect it to a just, like, crazy level, because it doesn't matter if someone knows what move you're going to use. If they can't stop it, then who cares? You can put your entire hand on the table, but if they're not fast enough to dodge your attack, if they're not durable enough to withstand your attack, then it doesn't really matter that you're predictable. And that's true in this case where we cut back and yeah, I mean, he's just too fast, he's too powerful, and in the blink of an eye, he cuts off the spider's head. And again, that adds a little bit more to Zenitsu's character. I'm very interested to see where the character goes in the future. I don't know, like, side note, I don't know if Zenitsu's character will ever overcome the whole anxiety thing. Maybe long down the road, because I just feel like that's part of his character, I don't know. There's just a little side note there. Let's see. Tanjiro and Inosuke's swords cannot cut through father's arms. Right, because now we're assuming we're at like the final boss battle here with the father, right? Because that's who the mother was always talking about, where it's like, oh no, don't tell your father, he's gonna go crazy. So we assume we're at the final boss here, and it's exemplified by their swords can't even cut through this man's arms, like it barely nicks him, and that spells trouble. So again, Tanjiro kind of thinking outside the box, he cuts down a tree that lands on the father, and it's like, oh man, we got it, he got him. You didn't suspect a tree, did you? The only problem though is that father is super strong, lifts up the tree and just bats Tanjiro very, very far. Like just across the forest. So Tanjiro is basically taken out. It's like Super Smash Bros, where you just launch off the screen. It's like, alright, he's gonna be gone for a while. It's gonna take a little bit for him to respawn. And so now Inosuke is kind of here. He has to fight him by himself, and just through sheer will, Inosuke is able to cut off father's hand. He takes a sword, doesn't cut through, so he uses a sword to bash down the other sword, and he's able to cut through this man's hand. So that's again kind of adding to Inosuke's character, where Inosuke does kind of just attack head on. He's just like, I'm just gonna throw everything I have at this person, and I'm gonna beat them. Basically through will. I'd say that's really his main attribute is will. It's shown even further through like another part of his character, where he's always trying to fight people who he thinks are powerful. He's like, hey, if I fight you and I beat you, that means I'm better than you, and that means I'm powerful. The only problem is that father now evolves like a Pokemon. He reaches his next stage, and he's even bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's a little bit scarier, and that scares Inosuke, where Inosuke is like, oh, I can't win, I'm going to die. But in the nick of time, as all shonens do, Giyu, who I think people use his other name, but yeah, it's listed as Giyu, so I know most people say like Tomiaka, something like that, but I say Giyu because that's just how it's written on the thing. Giyu saves Inosuke, right? We later realize we're given the info that he is one of the 12 Hashira. But he saves him. He comes out of nowhere, cuts this man's head off, makes just quick work of father. And again, that is another thing that I think builds out the world, where it's like, you forget, because they're main characters, that Tanjiro, Inosuke, Zenitsu, they're not really that good. Like, they're good, but they're still learning, the same thing with like, bring it back to Naruto, I guess, where it's like, in the main thing, like, you look at like Sasuke or something, right? Like during like the first however many 100 episodes of Naruto, and you're like, man, he's good. But if Sasuke were to face like Guy or Kakashi or like any of the actual people, he would lose with the quickness. Like, he would lose so quick. Even like someone like Gaara or Neji or whoever, like, they're like, oh man, they're really good. I'm like, yeah, they're really good in their class, in their like age group, and that's the same thing here, where it's like, yeah, Tanjiro's good, but I feel like he's good against other demon slayers with similar experience. Like he wouldn't last a second against Giyu, or some of the other people that we'll talk about in a second. Later, we cut back to Tanjiro, and now he's facing Rui, who I guess is an actual 12 Hashira, or not Hashira, Kizuki or whatever. And it sucks because Nezuko's there, but Nezuko gets all sliced up. It's like, ooh, don't like that. Don't like seeing Nezuko get hurt. Because Rui, if you look on the screen right now, if you're on YouTube, he has like the web powers, but they're like super strong and durable, and they're deadly, and you can throw them and stuff. Like Tanjiro isn't able to cut through them, which is a big thing. I think he attempts to, and his sword actually it gets broken in half. Then what do we got? What did I write 4? Oh right, so we start getting more in the fight, and again Tanjiro's not looking good. Nezuko's getting hung up. It's not looking good for them. So through the power of flashback, Tanjiro is able to now turn his water style into a fire style. So this is my thing. I don't remember exactly the details of it. I'm imagining that either the fire style is just so good that it morphed into something crazy like fire, or Tanjiro has the ability to use water style and fire style, which is interesting because I don't know if anyone's really ever used more than one style so far. Again, he's the main character, so I wouldn't be surprised if he has something crazy like OP like that, or oh man, Tanjiro can actually learn any style. He's Kakashi over here. And that's really big because while Tanjiro's in the middle of charging up an attack with his new fire style, we cut over to Nezuko, and she apparently develops her own blood demon art who can explode blood. So all of the blood that was been coming out of her and running down the webs of our sweet boy Rui here, she now explodes. And with them in tandem, with them working together, Tanjiro and Nezuko are able to behead Rui. At that point, we're like, finally, it's over. Tanjiro wins with the help of Nezuko. Everyone's going to go home safe. It's awesome. We see how powerful Tanjiro has become over this last season or whatever. And it's like, this is great. It's awesome, right? Wonder how the season's going to end. It's great. And then we realize that Rui is not only powerful, he's smart. He decided to cut off his own head before Tanjiro got the chance. So, if a demon is not beheaded by the sword of a demon slayer, they do not die. And it sucks because now Tanjiro is all out of juice. Nezuko doesn't really have much to fight with anymore either. So Rui's gonna win. Rui is going to get the better of them. That sucks. And in the nick of time, Giyu comes and saves Tanjiro as well. Gives some ups to Tanjiro for lasting that long. And Giyu just completely rocks Rui. Just completely rocks him. Just gives him that work. Rui uses his best move against him, and without even blinking, Giyu just cuts all the threads, all the spider webs. Doesn't even matter to him. And again, I really like that. I really like showing the power levels between certain things because, again, you see someone like Tanjiro and how well he fought against Rui and how he really got the better, upper hand on him. The only reason he didn't win is because Rui just thought a split second ahead of him. If Rui didn't do that, Tanjiro would have won this fight. But again, you just completely rocks him, cuts his head off, and it's great, The last thing I got here, Shinobu uses demon. Oh right, yeah, okay. Shinobu, who is the other Hashira we see, who she's like the insects, more of like a butterfly type thing. We see that her sword isn't very powerful. She doesn't have a lot of arm strength, I guess. That's how it's explained. And it's like, oh man, she actually can't cut off the heads of demons. So it's like, weird that she is, why is she a threat? It's like, oh, because she knows a lot about medicinal stuff, and she actually developed her own poison that affects demons, because I assume most poison probably doesn't. It probably just affects humans, and then it can affect demons, but it doesn't really kill them. It just kind of hurts them, and just like any other injury to a demon will just regenerate, right? But she actually developed a poison that specifically kills demons. And she uses it with the quickness and kills the daughter with the demon poison. And again, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the notes I have. Again, I especially love this like Spider Family arc, this little mini arc we get at the end here, because we see a lot of growth in the 3 main characters, and Nezuko, 4 main characters, which is good. But then I like the introduction of Hashira, and how we see how powerful they really are and why they're like that. You know, how like, you know, even in the middle of there, like Inosuke was trying to fight Giyu, and Giyu's just like, dog, like, no, you don't want this. For one, I'm at like 100% strength right now. You are on your last legs. You are going to pass out in about 7 seconds. Like, you cannot fight me. He even has a line where he's like, if you don't know the status of your own body, then you shouldn't be able to fight, or something like that. You know, basically telling him that you should be aware of what state your body is in right now. Like, your body is ready to collapse, and you're just willfully ignoring it because you want to fight me over pride. Like, that's not smart. That's not what a demon slayer does. Like, I'm walking away. Like, even in the middle of Inosuke challenging him, he tied him up. You know. But yeah, and then even with someone like Shinobu, who isn't super powerful. I mean, she's powerful. Like she has power, but like, she's also clever, and she uses what she has to her abilities, you know, as her strength. So she has the poison, she's quick, you know. So, you know, then later on we do see more Hashira. I'm not going to get into it too much, but very interested to see what all of them really do and how powerful they are, and we'll see them in fights and everything. But yeah, I think this season ends very well. Again, we see some Hashira, we see some training, which I'm not going to touch on, but it ends very well. You know, and I think that the fight scenes in the show are very good. They're animated very well, and I think they just keep building on top of each other. Again, when I cover the Infinity Train, we'll see a little more of that. But then just like some general predictions of you know, further than that, like, I would like to see more fights, which we're obviously going to. But I mean, I would like to see the 4 main characters fight together a little more. I'd like to see them kind of bounce off of each other in terms of giving each other strength and new moves and development and everything. And I'm interested to see, hopefully we see more Hashira in action. And it's also going to be cool to see how they build upon demons, where it's like, how do we make how do we keep upping the ante when it comes to the villains, the opponents that our 4 main characters have to fight. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, this is season 1. I will touch on Infinity Train in a later episode, because I don't really mix shows with movies too much. And of course, once this comes out, the first true episode of season 2 of Demon Slayer will be out. I'll be watching that probably week to week and talking about it once it airs, or once it finishes airing, I should say. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you thought of season 1. Let me know what your favorite fight was. Let me know what your favorite character is. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So like I said in the top, go to YouTube, go to podcast platforms, listen to this. I also have, first time ever, going to promote social media. You can follow Tiger T on Twitter. That'll usually be for like channel updates, uploads, that kind of thing. Or you can follow my personal Twitter, where I just throw random thoughts, random stuff on there. You know, stuff that I'm watching, stuff that I'm thinking. You know, classic Twitter. That'll be in the description as well. Links for everything will be in the description. Oh yeah, and that's also a good place for, you know, other than YouTube, either Twitter, is a good place for you guys to let me know your thoughts, as well as what more shows and movies and stuff like that you want to see me talk about, or I guess hear me talk about. And yeah, that's it. So until next time, watch the Infinity Train movie. If you haven't already, we'll talk about that next. And then a little bit later on, once it airs or finishes airing, we'll talk about season 2 of Demon Slayer.